Hello, everybody, and welcome back to We Bought a Mic, a pop culture podcast with Listomania, the best of 2022. My name's ERNEST.
I am fan of music, Hunter. Or at least I think I'm a fan of music. You guys are gonna have to teach me what music is today, because I always get it mixed up. Like, is this music right now?
If you fuck it up, you might get a chunky.
Music is real. Music exists.
I can't tell you what it is. I can only tell you what it feels like.
But you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my god,
No, that's
that is
music. That is
I don't
music.
want to spoil my list.
He had to
It's
announce it too. Oh, Eminem, by the way.
The 12th anniversary of Love the Way You Lie came out this year, so we have to
Wow.
honor that.
I was thinking, what is he talking about? Is that the Dr. Dre anthem?
Remember when what was the song called? I Need a Doctor came out, and Dr. Dre was like, "Guys, I'm back. Dr. Dre, he's still here," and then he never released any music to follow it up. That's honestly baller as hell.
Dr.
Of just-
Dre is here
Yeah.
with us today.
Dre W.
And
Dre W.
musical guest, Danny, welcome.
Dirty Titty.
Okay, all right, I like it. With
good
a
rap.
possible spoiler for your list on your shirt right now as we speak here.
Perhaps.
For the audio viewers,
I'm actually washing all 10 of my Coheed shirts.
Oh, okay,
Death-
cool.
Death Cab for Cutie.
That's why you gotta have 11, Danny.
Yeah.
See, I one for every day of the week and a half.
Welcome to the best albums of 2022. Happy New Year. It's 2023. We're here. We're back. We're energized.
Mm-hmm.
How was everyone's break?
Good. I went to Miami,
Miami.
hung out with Abuela.
How's Tua doing?
Hurt.
I don't know if we can talk about that.
Okay. Is he doing better than
You're not legally
I was
allowed
going to
to
say
ask.
you know
Kevin
what?
McCarthy. Jeez. All right, shall we talk about some albums? How are we feeling? What about the state of the music industry in 2022? Any like overall thoughts? Any major shifts this year? Any notable trends? Anything like that?
No, so coming into this episode, I was thinking that there wasn't a lot of music that I loved this year, and when I actually like sat down and tallied it all up, I think this was a good year.
Yeah.
Lot of
Very
albums.
deep. It's a it's a deep bench here,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, a lot of like a good amount of my list is existing bands who have, or artists who have been around for years, but like sort of reinvented themselves in a way, which I think is very cool. Makes sense in like a post-COVID world, you know, like emerging like different.
Okay. So we're back. So Drew had just gone into a whole
I was like crying.
exploration
Yeah.
I was
on the
weeping
year
and shit.
in music, and we figured out that
It was good.
we were not recording it the way it needed to be.
Cool.
So I'm gonna need you to take that again from the top.
Man, it's like in Pop Star when they fight off the bees, but the camera's off. That's tough.
Have you seen that movie, Pop Star?
Never
Yeah.
stop popping.
Sandberg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Andy
The Lonely
Sandberg.
Island.
Andy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're back.
All right, good year for music.
No, it was definitely a loaded year. I felt like I could have made a top 20 like very easily.
I don't know about you guys, but it was probably one of the toughest years that we've had since doing this as far as actually finalizing a top 10, because
Yeah, for sure.
I
Way
think
too
that
stacked.
it's a very deep bench, but I will say I don't have any albums on my list that I would say are 10 out of 10s. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I have a lot of albums that are pretty goddamn close. Like, especially as we get to the top of my list, that like I just want to fire these up all the time. But you know, there's some years where something comes out, it's just like, oh no, like instant classic.
Yeah,
This is a To Pimp a Butterfly level kind of thing where this is just going to exist in our lives forever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I felt that way about this year. That's not to say that this wasn't still a great year for movies. Still a great year for albums. A lot of music that like I really did enjoy. I listened to more music this year than I have in
New music?
than I have in probably the last like 10 years. I think the part that's just having a job, working from home, and just
Grooving.
being able to just sit on Spotify all day and just like fire up Spotify Discover and just see what the algorithm shits out for me.
Yeah, a lot of my albums were recommended by Spotify. I don't know if
St. Vincent.
Yeah, that was last year for sure. But there's a couple picks on my list that are only here because the fucking algorithm recommended them to me.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that has ever happened before, where like I instantly fell in love with new shit. One band in particular, like, is one of my new favorites. Fontaine's DC. Like, holy shit.
Nice.
Like, we're gonna get into that album.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking rock and roll.
I found him on my release radar when they dropped, and yeah, I immediately like dropped him in the group chat. Like, this is my shit.
Yeah. Goatee has logged on.
I will say, but you're right, Drew, that something that you said before everything got lost and you waxed on poetically about the year and music.
It killed the recording.
Yeah,
it was too good.
It was so good.
Also, I should say AOT. Goatee is Game of the Year.
I thought you were talking about the guy who does Somebody That I Used to Know.
Oh, that's Goat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't have to cut me off.
But one thing that you were talking about was that a lot of established bands and artists that reinvented themselves this year. And I think that for the most part, I really love the direction of a lot of these artists. Even if like the album itself, I do like a lot. It's more about like the trajectory that I can now see the band
narrative.
and artist being around for a while. They're incorporating a new sound, incorporating some new ideas into their music where I'm like, oh, perfect. Like I can already lay out the next 7 to 10 years for your career and just like see where this is going to build to.
Yeah, exactly. It's there are a lot of natural progressions, and then some, like, I mean, you were just talking about Fontaine's DC. They didn't sound like that.
Yeah, it's like their 4th or 5th album, right?
Yeah, and they didn't sound like I knew of them for years and years because I used to be like mega into like the British indie rock pop world, and they didn't fucking sound like that.
Right.
Like they came out different. And there are a lot of bands on my list that are exactly like that. And some that just like made a natural step in the right direction too, which I also appreciate. We can't all just be like beautiful butterflies.
Mm-hmm. We got to grow into ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, Danny, on the year of music?
I mean, yeah, I felt like there was just way too much music this year.
You were panicking a little bit.
I was like, Ernest, I need 20. Give me 15. Give me 15. No, I'll take 10. Whatever.
Now,
this is a 5-hour podcast.
Yeah, it was just way too much. But like after, basically ranting to Mitzel every day, I was just like, I think this one's better than this one, babe. And, like I could talk about this one. And it's just
did she give you a top 10 or a top 5 or something?
I explained to her my list. And like sometimes she'd be like, you are ranking with your emotions. You need to rank.
But
yeah.
no,
like,
but I think it's good to rank with your emotions. I don't know about you guys,
We've
but
been doing this for a while now.
This
but
was such a deep year.
it's like pity ranking though. You know?
yeah.
Like it's
Pity
like,
ranking.
Yeah, she's like, you're
God.
pity ranking.
Yeah,
And I'm
you're like, oh, I guess I have to have Harry's house #1, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
I give this guy a break already.
I think that like this year, because of it being such a deep year, I really like kind of just went full subjectivity this year on my list. Like,
You kind of have to at a certain point.
yeah, I just kind of put the shit that's resonated with me the most all year. And like, if I was going to make a list, this is more than any other year. If I was going to make a list of what I think are quote unquote the top 10 best albums and what my 10 favorite albums are,
Yeah, Machine Gun
this
Kelly.
is one of the different. Yeah, of course, Machine Gun
Mainstream
Kelly.
sellout.
It's MGK.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can't say that word
He's
anymore.
emo
Ernest.
and punk.
Kelly?
and cool.
Really?
Did Ed Sheeran put out an album this year?
I think A-Team got a remastering.
Okay, so yeah, objective.
Yeah, and-
Objective of
Since there was so much music, I had to I was talking to you about how I made a rubric, pretty much like a ranking system on how
interesting.
I can say
You scored this shit.
how I can say an album is like better or not. I didn't put the actual numbers I gave it, but
Are you gonna dive into the?
I'll
the
just say
background
really
of this?
quickly. It's pretty much like you get like points for how re-listenable the whole album is, how much songs that stand on their own, lyrics if it matters. Like, because some people, lyrics don't matter. That's not what they're going for. production wise, and then minus points for skippable songs.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. I like this. That's
Yeah.
a good point system. Okay. Before we dive in, some housekeeping things. 2022, we're about to hit a year since we started video on YouTube on this podcast. So this is the first Listomania on YouTube, but this is actually, I think, the 5th one we have done. We like to start the year off with our list. We're not some fucking sold out media conglomerate.
Putting out our top 10 albums in like mid-October.
Yeah, fuck that. When the clock strikes midnight on December 31st into January 1st.
That's when I get out.
The end of
that's
the
when
year.
I get out my quill pen and my papyrus and I start scribbling my lists.
In papyrus, the font.
Of
Yes.
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
You have
chisel
to.
it into stone, actually.
Yeah,
when I
into your
start
computer.
chiseling.
You
Well,
chisel
you're
the
old
computer.
school. You're really old school, so
So-
makes sense.
January, it's a great time to sit back, relax, and look back on the year and not feel like there's a massive gap in new shit coming out because we're talking about the old shit that came out the following year. So that's how we do it here, and we're going to spend all month long counting it down, albums, TV shows, movies, and then the Wabammies,
The
our award
Wabammies.
show to cap it all off.
We should say a little programming note. Next week actually will be our 10-hour review of Megan. So,
Okay.
of course, we
I
have to
thought
stay tuned
I thought
for
you were going
that.
to say it was our 10-hour review of this podcast.
Yeah.
That it was going to be like a Bo Burnham
We
situation.
should do no, you
where
know,
we
yeah, we
review
should
ourselves.
we should do a commentary episode of our podcast.
Yeah. No, Megan.
Let's go
apparently
full
it's-
Kaufmanism. Here.
Apparently,
Just-
Megan is good.
it looks good.
Yeah.
It looks fun.
Okay.
I like a good dumb horror movie as much as the next guy.
It has like apparently has like a
I-
97% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Drew just busted out the rosé seltzer.
What's the review? What's the honest review? Hashtag honest review.
It's like the Coheed of rosés.
It smells like pee.
Okay, all right. What
And-
kind of pee?
No, that's just
give it
me.
an animal.
That's
Are we
me, I'm
talking
sorry.
cat? We talking human?
It smells like, I think it smells like my pee.
Okay.
Oh,
Like,
did you
have you been
piss
drinking a
into
lot
that
of water today? Or
did you bring that can from home?
Yeah, it's definitely pee, human pee.
give it a hue?
It
Like
tastes
how?
pretty good.
What dark? What's the darkness looking like?
Taste is okay. I don't know. I don't. Oh, you mean of the piss?
Yeah.
Like pretty concentrated, but not too. And like
Okay, it's not like almost bordering on brown.
Yeah. The progression of the drinks I'm going to have tonight is going to be really fucked up. So if I start acting strange, it's because I'm going to have a malt liquor after this.
That's another tradition. Danny, this is our 3rd Listomania with you. And each year has gone progressively more inebriated and longer. Last year we had to break it up into 2 episodes, which I am fully preparing
Our
to do that
3.5
today.
hour podcast last
We
year.
got to be honest with ourselves. That's probably going to happen again.
I am hoping, in theory, if there's 4 of us with each a top 10, that's 40 picks.
Oh boy.
In theory, if we spend 3 minutes on each one, that's a 2-hour pod, baby.
Well, there's going to be overlap too, so you
Exactly.
Think about that. We could get this thing down. What's our time at?
You
now?
could have said
We're-
this before every episode we've ever
The
recorded.
over under is 3 hours 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm picking the over.
that's a push.
I'll take the under. by like 3:12.
And now
just
because
sneak in
Hunter's a
there.
degenerate, he's gonna like stop talking for the rest.
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
gonna
pod.
actually. Can I live bet
Like,
this?
my number 10 is actually.
I'm gonna live.
Coheed
bet
was
this as we
amazing.
speak.
He's going to interrupt everyone to make sure that we finish it. Okay.
And what's next?
Okay.
Number 10.
So here's what we're going to do.
Oh, nice. He's got the
I am
wheel.
doing the wheel on here. I'm also like strategically placing my computer so that Danny doesn't look at
I know,
my
don't-
list.
Okay,
Oh,
okay. So
wait.
you can look at my list, but I can't look at yours. Okay, I need to explain something, okay? Yes, I
Get this off your chest.
I
King.
made my 2022 albums playlist public. Well, I didn't make it. I just didn't make it private. And Ernest looked at it. So he knows.
Not only
what
did I
I'm-
look at it, I listened to it.
and he
Yeah.
got fucking busted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just happened to be on Spotify and be like, wow, look, Ernie and Danny are listening to the same exact song at the same
and
time.
the
Which
same
is a
playlist.
crazy
Same
thing.
playlist.
Like
And
that is a cosmic moment right there.
And it's like, your mom leaves and, she expects you not to go in the cookie jar. And, you got to be a good boy or girl. And
You have failed the marshmallow test.
Okay, but if mom leaves the cookie jar unlocked, like if the padlock isn't there,
Follow directions.
if there's
Ernie.
no
God.
big old combination lock that you have to twist around, you're gonna eat some fucking cookies, okay? Jeez, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I invaded
Was it
your
only
privacy.
10 albums, or was there at least some
there was
that could throw
more.
off
There
the
was
scent?
more.
Okay.
There was
So
more.
okay. So at least you might not know the full thing.
I will say I am glad I listened to it because now there are albums that I hadn't really given a solid shot that I listened to today, and I'll be able to talk to them with you about.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe
Okay.
I'll put him on. Maybe I won't.
The last year, anytime that he sees you're listening to a song on Spotify, he puts on that song
What's Danny listening to?
at any hour.
He like gets up out of bed. Wait. What's Danny listening
God,
to?
Jamiroquai again?
Yeah, no,
I
I
can't do any more of
Oh,
this.
shitty lights.
No more Polyphia, please.
hey, no spoilers. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's
I'm watching the spin.
let's do this. Okay, so how do I spin? Oh, click to spin. Here we go.
Let's take a look.
All right, our 4 names are spinning, and it's landing
you.
on me. So I
What a
get the
coincidence.
first.
Are we going
pick.
clockwise, counterclockwise?
Shoot, what should we do? Should
Let's
I
just
spin
go.
it
Let's
again?
go down the
Couch.
couch.
Yeah, just
Okay,
go ahead.
so the order is going to be me, Danny, Drew, Hunter.
All right.
And if there's any overlap, we will save the discussion until the person with the highest pick has it.
Yeah.
Okay, 10-1, our top 10 albums of 2022. Here we go. My number 1 pick, or number 10 pick.
You act like we're
whoa.
like drafting the albums.
Number 10 pick.
With the 10th pick, Ernest drafts Taylor Swift.
Do 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 do.
My number. You're making me.
You
All
suck.
right, now I'm going to sit.
God damn it.
Oh man, you're really making us work for
We
it.
can't make
Ernie,
many-
this is the guy who was just like, listen, if we
we
like
all
3
do
minutes a
this
pick.
down- Ernie, this is more work for you. I don't. Once we leave this studio, I don't do shit.
Right.
This just gets put up on the airwaves for all I know.
I like cutting it down. It's a fun time, you know.
Okay. All right.
It's now that I can see us like on video. It's like, oh, I'm back.
Do you
I'm
like to
hanging out
have?
with
You're
my
like having
friends
a
again.
parasocial relationship with your actual friends.
I'm
you
reliving.
can just like send us a text.
Okay. My number 10 pick. The pick is in. Is The Overload by Yard Act.
Hey, this is
Oh.
on my top 20.
Nice. Okay.
This is a great album.
I've been riding on this album for a while now. It came out like early in the year.
It was
first
it was
half
early.
of the year. It's the debut album by Yard Act. I should call them Yard Act
Okay.
because they're British.
Was that bad?
Okay.
as
Cool.
fuck.
All right.
Yeah. I was like, what accent?
I know there was a lot of because
It was like a little Boston.
they all have cotton balls in their mouth.
This and Fontaine's DC, which will come up later. Is like two sides of the same coin in the succession of Arctic Monkeys. Rest in peace. You put out a solid effort this year. I applaud you. I salute you,
Solid's generous.
Alex Turner.
I salute you with my hand, but not with my ears.
These guys are like, okay, this is what Arctic Monkeys would sound like if they originated in the 2020s. They would be a little bit more political, a little bit more kind of influenced by electronic sounds. This album absolutely rocks. It sags quite a bit in the middle.
Yes. That's why it's lower on my list. It has filler to
Yeah.
go to Danny's
Skippable
rubric.
songs.
Skippable songs are tough.
But it is so fucking good in the beginning and in the end. It is kind of bookended by these incredible fucking tracks that I just can't help but get it like right up there in my top 10. There was a moment during this year when I was listening to some of these songs over and over and over and over. So yeah, the first chunk of songs, The Overload, Dead Horse, and even Payday and Rich starts out really strong. And then it ends absolutely banger doubleheader of Pour Another and 100% Endurance. And it's very unique. The guy's voice is it's almost like he's talking, like he's doing like a Bob Dylan or like a he's not singing. There are points where it does get a little melodic, but the kind of spoken word quality of the vocal delivery juxtaposed with the really kind of out there, and simplistic instrumentals. It's not like it's super experimental, but there are lots of melodic moments that contrast really well with such kind of a dry vocal delivery. And that synthesis was like perfect in these songs.
This was a big year for like spoken word or guys with like very untraditional vocal styles albums. I have a couple on my list that are going to be coming up later on here.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely know a couple of those. They're just, that style, particularly in England and Ireland, is just like absolutely booming right now. Like the most stark example is definitely Dry Cleaning. They put out an album last year and I never got to it, and I feel bad because I love Dry Cleaning, but that's literally just a woman speaking very calmly.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it opens the door to focusing more on lyrics without taking away anything from the song, because you're subtracting the element of vocal melody. If that makes sense.
A lot of this album is about kind of the post-Brexit England and a lot of the social issues that they're dealing with over there. And I don't know, it's like a cool little peek at like our version of the kind of leftist movement that seems to be powering a lot of the youth culture over there. It's maybe not the most studious kind of insight, but to put that into your album, I think is cool. And yeah, I don't know. It's a really unique sound. Also, check out the music video for 100% Endurance. It features David Thewlis. Oh, it's really good.
Nice.
So that's my number 10. It is The Overload by Yard Art.
It's close.
Is that
close?
I can't tell if that was better or worse. I feel like that was like better but more offensive.
Yard Act. The band is called Yard Act.
Yard Act.
All right, number 10, Danny.
I might get to save it just because it was on so many lists, but I picked Always, Blue Rev.
Hey. Yep. Yep.
Oh, so this is on your further up on your list, Drew?
Yeah, motherfucker.
Alvvays.
Okay, Drew.
Fucking great album.
Number 10. Sorry.
We'll probably have to wait for this. It's Black Midi.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait on that one.
Yeah.
So I don't think that mine will be on any list because I would give this my Spotify Discover Weekly Award for the year for me. It's a little band by the name of Pool Kids. You guys ever heard of Pool Kids?
Yeah.
I think it's come up on my
Drew
algorithm.
and I actually saw them open up for Origami Angel whenever they played here in town.
And they were really good.
They were great live, and their album popped up on Spotify for me like right whenever it came out. I listened to a couple of songs that like popped up in my Discover Weekly. I was like, oh, I like this. Like, save the album. And, you know, it just kind of reaches those points whenever you're listening to so much music throughout the year that kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And seeing them live really made me want to go back in and listen to this album. And this album just, it fucking rules, man. It has like, the way that I would describe it is like, it's got this early Paramore vibe to it. But if Paramore, instead of going down the pop route and kind of bringing in those 80s pop synth sounds, if they just kind of embrace more of like a mathy prog rock influence, but there is still plenty of pop punk to them. If you like Origami Angel, then I highly recommend these guys. Like, I think that there is lot of elements right there.
They were extremely cool live. They were a perfect opener.
They have like this real polish to them. One, got to give a shout out. They're from Tallahassee. Our own.
No way. That's so cool.
Probably the best band to come out of Tallahassee since
Creed
ever.
Go Radio.
But this album is
Mayday Parade.
I think that
yeah.
there you go. I think that this band is really going to go places. They already, I mentioned Paramore. It's because Hayley Williams discovered them after their first album and was like, hey, I wish that we sounded more like this, early versions of us. This whole album was produced by a guy named Mike Vernon Davis, who you might not know the name offhand, but he produced such albums as Near My God and Transatlanticism.
Foxing. Nice.
Yep. And I would say a lot of the production on this album, I mean, they're different sonically because this has more pop punk influence, but it does remind me a lot of Transatlanticism. If you like kind of took that sound, that polished, but not with too much of a sheen on it to like the drums, and push that into what the 2020s version of it would be. So highly recommend it. Couple songs to check out that I'd recommend. That's Physics Baby. One of my favorite songs of the year, catchy as hell. Talk Too Much. If you like Paramore, like that is a perfect entryway. Like she sounds like Hayley Williams on that song. It's kind of crazy. And then I Hope You're Right and Swallow are just two absolute bangers. So highly recommend this album.
Oh yeah.
Pool Kids.
Pool Kids.
What's the name of the album?
The album is called Pool Kids.
Oh, self-titled.
Self-titled. Yeah.
All right, we're back around to me.
Nueve.
For number 9, my number 9 is We've Been Going About This All Wrong by Sharon Van Etten.
Nice. I'm glad that this made your list because I really like this album and it just didn't make the cut. But
It's a really good album. It's really emotional and sensitive and slow in the right places, but it does find its moments to pick up the pace a little bit and not just be kind of one note the whole time. She really knows how to rock you when you need to, but the majority of this album is going to be sort of a slower, more mellow listen. Her voice is incredible. She's such a talented singer. And I really, really got into her with her last album, Remind Me Tomorrow, which was on my top 10 that
I think
year.
that it was on all three of our top 10.
Yeah, it was on. Was that
year.
19 or
19? Yep.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was on all three of our lists that year. That album is excellent. If anything, like it almost hurt. We've been going about this all wrong. That it didn't capture me on the first listen the same way that Remind Me Tomorrow.
It took me a couple.
It's a little bit more like more melodic, more her like more emotional. It doesn't quite have the same punchiness.
Exactly. Like a song like 17 off of Remind Me Tomorrow, that feels like this kind of huge anthemic song. This one doesn't really have that, but it does have some good tracks. I mean, the ones I wrote down are Headspace, I'll Try, and Come Back. Come Back being like the closest thing to a 17 on this thing. But yeah, it's gloomy, it's moody, it's sad, good for a rainy day, you know, if you don't have a lot going on. And yeah, it's slow with big operatic moments throughout to kind of give you that dynamic change of pace. So it stays interesting as, you know, kind of that album front to back listen. So I really enjoyed it. I really needed something on my list that wasn't super like heavy rock or hip hop or something like that, and was a little bit more mellow, a little bit more chill. And this is like that perfect spot for something like that. So We've Been Going About This All Wrong by Sharon Van Etten. That is my number 9.
Nice.
Danny, number 9.
Hopefully I'll get to speak this time. DOMi and JD Beck's Not Tight.
Go for it.
go ahead?
Okay, wow. I was like,
You did post about this on the group chat.
So I mean, I found out about them through that Thundercat video where he did that Adult Swim festival with Ariana Grande, like performed them changes, and then DOMi and JD Beck are in the back, keyboard and drums. And so they're a jazz fusion duo. They've been around for a little bit. So they're actually they were found, Anderson .Paak signed them to his label. So that's why we're happy that he got that, Bruno Mars money, you know, like, pushing good music forward. The cool thing about it is that it's like every time you listen to it, you get something new out of it. It's like a lot of different like layers to all the music, and the way that, JD Beck is insane at the drums, and DOMi and JD Beck, like they just like perfectly complement each other. Like they have beautiful chemistry. They're constantly going back and forth. When you watch their live performances, they're constantly like eyeing each other to see what they're going to do next. Cause it like, I feel like this was a really good opportunity for them to push like as closely as they could replicate like their live performance into a record. So it was just like, I felt like it could have been executed a little better, but I think this is really good for their first attempt at it. Like I said, incredible like talent between the two. This album has some really cool features. It's got Anderson .Paak, Mac DeMarco, Busta Rhymes, Snoop Dogg, Herbie Hancock, and Thundercat. And the only person I have to blame for liking this is not Thundercat, but it's my dad. He liked jazz music when I was a kid.
So the dad recommend?
No, my dad has he would never listen to this. It's just he always listened to jazz in the car. And me and my mom and my brother, you listen to elevator music, Dad. You know,
and now you watched Whiplash one time, and you're like, jazz is actually pretty fucking metal. I don't know, man.
But yeah, it was just it just like really stuck with me. I'm like, shit, I like jazz just like my dad.
What do you think could have been better? You said it could have been executed better.
I felt like a lot of the songs, they end like very abruptly because like they could have gone a lot longer.
The loop just cuts out.
Yeah, there's some songs that like it, man, I think it's not tight. It's like, it feels like it's about to end, but then it like picks back up and then it constantly, like that was like very awesome. But to fit like that kind of like power into a 3-minute space is like really tough. But it still was able to get some highlights, and there's some like very unique moments that like blow you away with their talent. My favorite songs on it are What Up, Bowling with Thundercat was really good. I love Two Shrimps with Mac DeMarco the most. And obviously Take a Chance with Anderson .Paak is a really good one.
That is a good song. I gave this album a listen, and I kind of forgot about it, to be perfectly honest, and I need to go back and revisit it. I do love that song with Anderson .Paak, though.
It's one of those that like you need the really good headphones because you're gonna miss something, because there's so many like different sounds you really need to pay attention to really get the full experience. It's not something that I don't think it's something you can like like have in the background to appreciate. It's something you like really need to pay attention to.
More active.
Yeah, it's more active listen, even though like most of the songs don't have words to them, but the ones that have the special guests obviously do. They were on Jimmy Fallon, or was it Jimmy Fallon? It was one of the shows. The Tonight Show, I think.
Yeah.
With Mac DeMarco recently.
Nice.
Yeah, but really cool stuff.
Not tight. And the I in tight is lowercase, and everything else is capitalized.
Get that right.
Nice.
Oh, it's because the I in DOMi is lowercase. Wow.
Cool.
DOMi and JD BECK. Nice. Love it. I love this episode because I'm going to listen to everything everyone mentions on this episode. And it's like sometimes I'm cramming for this. I'm like, I don't know what to fucking... I have this huge list of like 40 something albums, and I'm like, I can't give this all my time. So I just freeze and I just, just go back to listen to podcasts. I'm like, I don't know.
I'm so glad that you said you're going to listen to all these, because I'm going to pivot my list on the fly now to just make you listen to MGK and
Coheed,
DJ Khaled?
Vaxxus,
All
Vaxxus
Coheed.
4.
Vaxxus 18.
Okay.
DJ Khaled? No?
Yeah.
Good.
Did he have an album that came out this year?
Yes.
So
I thought that was last year. He definitely put out an album like the last 2 years.
I think it was the
this
Black
year.
Adam soundtrack.
Yeah, was that- Wait,
shout
did
out.
The Rock make an original song for the Black Adam?
It's about
soundtrack?
drive. It's about Black Adam power. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
That was on the Babylon soundtrack.
That's Danny's number 9. Drew, number 9.
Charli XCX.
Yo,
Nice.
I'm so glad that you have this on here. I fucking love this album.
Crash.
Crash rules.
Yeah. I mean, she rules. Probably my favorite pop star. And this is I guess I would call it my favorite of her albums so far. I don't think that that's a very popular take, but no one thinks that it's like in any way bad, if that makes sense. Like it's just so undeniably solid all the way through. Beg for You with Rina Sawayama is like, it's like a pop song that like, you're like, how did this how did no one ever think of this? Like in the last like 20 years of this exact music existing, you know, like they just like, that's what she's really good at. She's a fan of pop, you know, she comes from it. Like, it is annoying, but the way that like Will Toledo came to rock music, like as like a historian of it, where like he's obsessed with every single like place that he could draw from. She's like that. And there's a lot of like early 2000s influence and late 90s. And then obviously 80s because we're way more into the synths, but that's also because it's like hyper modern. So yeah, it kind of just combines everything that she's good at into one really, really, really good album.
I think Lightning is one of my favorite songs of the year. Lightning rules so hard. The beat on that song is just like insane. It's so super catchy. I think I have this at number 15 right now on my list, and it could have been in my top 10. Really love it.
Yeah, she's super cool. There's like this little circle of like alternative, progressive pop women who like, you know, like produce and like feature on each other's tracks. And it's with like Rena and people like Christine and the Queens and Caroline Polachek, who rocks, by the way. She put out an album that I wasn't in love with last year, but she's great on this album. It's just, it's like, I couldn't really fault the album for anything. It's like near perfect.
Charli XCX, Crash, Hunter, number 9.
My number 9 is The Unraveling of Pup the Band by Pup.
This album rocks.
This album is rock and roll. I had kind of a moment whenever I was listening to this in preparation for this, figuring out if this was going to make the cut of my list and everything. And it's that I don't think that any modern band hates being a band more than Pup does. Like, if that makes sense. Like, they just...
Yeah, the more popular they get, too.
They kind of just have so much resentment. And it's funny because I love Pup, listened to Pup for years, and they're kind of like punchy teenage angst that they have has just kind of turned into this like sense of just pure like despair. But the irony to that is lyrically, they're kind of becoming more existential, filled with like more dread of just the looming everything around them, throw in a pandemic on top of it. And this might be their catchiest album to date. Like, there's just kind of straight bangers like all throughout this entire album. And it's not to say like they still have found a way to reinvent themselves in a way that is more has like kind of a wider appeal to other people without losing the pluckiness that kind of made them special in the first place. Like I'm thinking specifically of a song like Totally Fine and Robot Writes a Love Song. Like the first couple main songs on the album are just really catchy songs that could have come out. They almost could have been like Cage the Elephant songs if Cage the Elephant went a little bit heavier with their sound instead of it going full alternative in the direction that they kind of went in. And then they are incorporating more different sounds into their music. Something like Relentless or especially Habits has like this synthy kind of 5/4. I don't even know if it's actually 5/4 time signature, but it's like a very irregular kind of beat to it that super cool. Really is showing that they are kind of willing to expand their sound and evolve. This is kind of another band. They aren't reinventing the wheel. They aren't changing what made Pup special, but this is the next logical step in the best possible way. And then their final song on the album, Pup the Band Inc. is filing for bankruptcy, is the best closing track that they've had yet to an album. And they've had pretty good closing tracks to all of their albums, but that one just kind of has this point of dread towards everything around them, but kind of a sense of acceptance of like, well, this is as good as it's going to get. So I should try to make the best out of this. It's not going to change the way that I'm feeling about anything, but things just are what they are. And then we just kind of go on through all this.
Well, I think it's also about what happens when this scrappy punk band starts to get like famous and successful.
I mean, that's the whole metaphor of the album is about them selling out. Like,
exactly.
That's the whole thing.
It's like you're basing your entire thing off of the fact that everything sucks. You have to fucking scrape for every dollar. And then it's like suddenly you don't have to do that. Maybe you still have to do that a little bit, but not to the same extent.
Right.
And it's like, oh shit, everything we were basing our entire artistic musical firepower off of has to change now that you've reached this next level of success. You're not scrapping along. And I love that they kind of tackle that in this album. And I love their sound. Every album is just, they just hit. You can tell you're listening to Pup. You know, it's one of those.
Well, you can tell you're listening to Pup, but every album does still have its own sound to it. Like, nothing is sounding like crazy different tonally or anything like that, but every album that they have put out so far feels like a cohesive thought. And I feel like this is probably the best version of that cohesive thought. There's even like skit interludes kind of the 4 chords of learning to play a piano, like 3 different interludes that come in throughout the album that just work really great.
The unraveling of Pup the band.
All caps. They gave it the tar treatment.
With the tilde.
The unraveling of Pupe the band.
That is Hunter's number 9. We're on to number 8, boys.
I don't want to interrupt with some sad news, but I just got word that a second snowplow has hit Jeremy Renner.
Fuck!
No!
Wait, are you serious right now? Don't fuck with me right now.
It just
Is he okay?
came in through.
I will
the 8th floor of
grab
the
my
hospital.
I will grab my Hawkeye action figure. Tell it to me straight, Doctor.
It took
Dr. Dre.
it took his other leg.
Do we think that he is like he's got a notepad, he's just cooking up music this whole time while he's locked up there?
Shit,
Are we
he's
gonna get
drop?
Are we gonna get his version of Black Star? But instead of dying, it's about his experience getting hit by a snowplow.
Has everyone here seen Glass Onion?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The Jeremy Renner hot sauce joke.
Renning hot.
I wanted to fucking
Great
stand up and cheer when I saw it.
That's a moment where me and Ernest are in the theater. I'm just like elbowing the shit out of Ernest's ribs next to me, like, oh, they're doing it.
It's the fucking Renner hot sauce.
I might grab a drink.
My number 8 album of 2022 is Jack White's Fear of Dawn.
You're so in the bag for Jack
Can't
White.
quit him.
Very blue.
This
of
album
you.
is really good.
It's a very blue album cover.
It's one of 2 Jack White albums that came out this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the second one was the same songs, just acoustic,
Oh.
which are also good.
Is that blue?
It is, I believe, sepia,
Oh.
black and white-ish.
Boo.
Not blue. This album rocks. I brought it up in our mid-year draft that we did about 6 months ago. And I was calling my shot because I was suspecting that it would make my top 10. I think it was my only music pick in my draft.
Wow.
And yeah, it stuck around the whole way. For a minute there, I thought it wouldn't, just because it's a really stacked year, and I was wondering if I should make room for something else that I hadn't already talked about. But just revisiting it, it fucking rocks. This guy is really fucking talented at what he does, and he's not fucking around. He's not trying to do any experimental shit like in his previous album. He just does a really amazing down the middle rock and roll album, and still slips in a couple Jack White isms, a little Q-tip here, little just kind of.
He doesn't go off the rails, he doesn't go like Steve Vai on us,
No. Well, now that you mention that, the way Jack White makes his guitar sound is unlike anything else.
Yeah.
I don't know what his pedal setup is or how he gets these sounds, but it's like, it is just chef's kiss perfection.
There's actually, this was years ago. So this was like right around Lazaretto. There was a YouTube guy who like basically tried to figure out the Jack White sound to make it has like this, like, it almost sounds like the guitar is like crying with every solo. Like it's like this.
Yeah.
Almost like, it has like this
a human
life
voice
to them. Yeah. It's so unique that he just fully owns that sound. It's a good album.
I absolutely love it. It rocks hardcore. The only thing that rocks harder are albums higher up in my list. But I was just, I'm becoming an old man. I like classic rock.
Rock is not dead.
You've always had this
Jack White.
this element of old guy to you, though. You like Blunderbuss.
Yeah, Foo
Yeah,
Fighters.
I do too. I like a lot of Jack White stuff, and I think this is closer to the top than it is like what was the album before?
Yeah.
This
is
Boarding House Reach.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
a huge fan of that. Yeah, but this
He
one
got
was,
real weird with that one.
yeah, this one's like as close as it gets to like Blunderbuss for me. I like this album a lot. It's in my honorable mentions, but I'm glad you mentioned it. I enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a good one. Down the middle, nothing crazy, doesn't overdo it. Good sound.
It is Jack White's Fear of Dawn. My number 8. Danny, number 8.
JID, The Forever Story.
We're gonna have to wait on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Gonna
I
have
guess
to wait
no
on that
one's
one.
going to let me talk the rest of the...
No, you're
Nope.
fucked. Drew, number 8.
Black Country New Road.
We're gonna have to wait on that
I figured.
for right now.
Oh. Number
Here,
8?
you go first. Yeah, this is my number 8 as well.
Yeah, Ants from Up There is the album name. Really just awesome album. Did you know that the singer left the band immediately, like the days before
Yeah.
they released this album?
Yeah, they recorded
The singer
with this-
who like made the album what it is. Crazy, weird stuff.
What's the behind the scenes situation?
He cited mental health issues.
Oh, okay.
You
Which
listen to the lyrics.
you listen to it and it's
Yeah,
like,
you're
oh,
like,
that
yeah.
makes sense. This is a man who's very depressed and is going through a lot right now.
This album strikes me as like a modern analog to old Arcade Fire. If you really think about it, it took me a minute to finally understand what I was liking about it. But like when I listed it out, I was like, oh yeah, this is old Arcade Fire. It's like, it's a big group of like super hipster people. And they're making this really earnest and like emotional, like slow burn, like building folk rock music. That's just what Arcade Fire did back then, but it has a way different like sound to it and twist to it.
His voice alone.
His voice is a lot better than Will's. I think this guy has an incredible voice. It has like depth, but also a lot of vulnerability. I'm not saying he's an incredible singer, but his vocal quality is like top tier to me.
There is like one way that I would describe this album is like soaking wet in melancholy. Like there's just so much kind of like sadness to this album. And I promise listeners, it does get peppier from here, that I just listed 2 albums that I'm both describing that as filled with despair. But like this album, sonically, it's kind of like a peaks and valleys album, not in terms of quality, but in terms of just like, we're going to start with just like very slow, very patient songmaking. We're just going to play this kind of same progression over and over again, and then kind of keep building on it and keep adding another layer and keep adding another layer. It almost has, you mentioned Arcade Fire, but this doesn't make sense as far as like the type of music that they're making, but what LCD Sound System does with a lot of their songs, where it's just like, we're just going to keep throwing another instrument at this and another instrument at this and just kind of keep building on this until it reaches this full kind of epic landscape, epic sonic landscape that you're listening to. And then, I mean, you're talking about the singer, and I think that my favorite song on the album, The Place Where He Inserted the Blade, is just like, it's kind of like a gut-wrenching album. Like, it's like made me like choked up before listening to this. You can hear the pain in his voice as he is like screaming out these lyrics at time. Like his voice is almost cracking while delivering some of these lines.
It is some of my favorite vocals of the year, like in my top 5 easily. He's really, really good at delivering his own words. Sometimes his words are a little rot for me, like a little bit like overthought, where it's like, man, this man really thought he was doing something. The thing is, he was doing something, so I can forgive that. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. It's like a powerhouse. Like that's how I would describe it. The album, it's just like, it's so fundamentally sound, and then it has all this vulnerability and originality too. I could put it higher on my list, and I wouldn't be upset. My top 8 is like really, really tight. And this to me is like a super, super solid album for what it is. You have to be in the right mood to listen to it, is something that probably brought it down.
Yeah,
for me.
I don't think I ever was. This kept getting recommended to me by the algorithm.
This was every time that I finished an album on Spotify, they were like, "You want to listen to Chaos Space Marine, though, don't you?" Like, just let's throw that on there.
I liked a lot of the songs, but I never gave it the full album, like track one.
I think that
treatment.
you would connect
Yeah.
with it hard. I think that there's a lot of like
will.
like I said, there's some Arcade Fire in there.
I will. This was just one of the ones that just like it's on the list here of things that I liked. It kept getting knocked down because I never was like, all right, here we go. Ants from Up Here, track one and on. But now that you guys put it on there, I'm going to give it the chance. I also feel the same way, not to spoil anyone's list here, but I don't know. The Big Thief album. Dragon, New Warm Mountain, I believe in you. I feel exactly the same way about that album.
I don't think I'm not old enough for Big Thief yet.
It kept getting recommended to me, and I liked the songs, but it was just one of those things. It's like the St. Vincent effect from last year, where I'm like, shut the fuck up about this fucking
Stop
album.
it, Spotify. Stop it.
I don't wanna.
I will say
I'll let you know when I wanna.
I think this album, more than any other album this year, benefited from me just working from home and having the luxury that I work a job where I can just listen to music all day, because this album is almost patient to a fault with some of its song writing choices. Like, they really are just going to kind of keep there and almost lull you into this like false sense of security. Not to say that shit doesn't get crazy, because there is still plenty of like experimental rock that's happening on this album.
Yeah, it gets noisy. It gets weird.
But there's like a whole lull, especially right after Goodwill Hunting, into the place where he inserted the blade, which is kind of this big blow up moment. And then the final track, Basketball Shoes, too. But like, where you are just
those
fully
are all like so good.
Yeah,
Each
like,
of those songs is like unbelievable.
just like perfect songwriting.
I should have put it higher. If I had given the whole thing, it's like you said, it takes energy to listen to this band.
Well, no, that's the thing, is that it was nice of me working from home because I could just throw it on track one. I'm doing other stuff in the background, and then I'm just like humming along to myself, and I'm like, fuck, it got in my head again. I guess I'm just gonna fire it up again. I'm gonna fire up intro and just kind of ride through.
Shout out to when Hunter quoted this album in our Goodwill Hunting episode. Instead of saying Goodwill Hunter,
Billie Eilish style.
I know, he fucked up so
that's
hard.
insane.
He fucked up so bad.
I think that history books will show that I was on the right side of history.
Did you see I put the Southie boys on the table here?
I did.
Claiming they're the little gold men.
Well, you've now been to Southeast, so what's it like?
I sat on the bench. Actually, I didn't sit on the exact bench because some fucking lady was hogging it.
God.
I'm imagining it was like a homeless lady sleeping on it. You're like, what? Do you know what bench you're on? Here.
She was feeding like all the squirrels, so I don't think
Hey,
I think
good on
she was
her.
fine.
The bird lady from Home Alone 2.
It's like I guarantee you, I did not talk to this woman, but I guarantee you she was like, I'm the biggest Robin Williams fan. I'm going to be in everyone's pictures.
Do you think that she was there and she was just like reciting the screenplay for Goodwill Hunting in her head as she was sitting on the bench?
It's not your fault.
How about them apples? All right. How about my number 7 apples?
Yeah.
We're back around to me
Take me
after
there.
Black Country New Road being Drew and Hunter's number 8. My number 7 is SOS by SZA.
If I had more time, it definitely could have made
That's
my
exactly
list.
my
I
problem.
feel the
We had no
exact
time.
This is like
just
so
came out.
high up on
It
my
was
things of just like,
mid-December.
I was like, fuck, I already like had my list, my long list ready. I just didn't have space to throw anything else on there. I listened through this a few times though, and it's
great.
I mean, it's SZA. It's just SZA doing her thing again.
I had to shuffle a couple things out to make room. We'll get to it in honorable mentions probably, unless somebody else mentions them. But I'm glad it lived up to, that
Vibe,
kind of like last minute, like, oh shit, here we go kind of vibe where, we wait until the very end of the year to make our lists. And every once in a while you get an artist that just slips one under. And for me, it's a long one.
Yeah, a little too long. in my
Yeah,
opinion.
it's like
It's too long.
veering on that one
There's
and
filler.
a half hour mark. But I was just listening to it, these last couple of weeks, and I'm like, damn, I don't really want to skip any of these songs. It's a vibe. It's a good vibe. it's like got that hip hop feel to it. There's like a couple more upbeat tracks like F2F. I think that's like the one track that kind of gets more
That's like the
poppy
most Taylor
rock.
Swift like song ever.
She knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
She does a great job
She's
at
good
it.
at pop, and also it's a lot more hip hoppy than Control. Like
Yeah.
definitely, which I think benefits it. I like,
love Control too.
yeah, Control's phenomenal, but Control is also like super tight, so it's hard to compare the two albums at all. Like they're very very different.
Yeah.
Early on, you got Kill Bill, which that's a hook
Banger.
that just gets in your
Banger.
head. And then you've got Don Toliver in there. With
Shirt was
Used.
really good too.
Phoebe Bridgers is on Ghost in the Machine.
Great song.
Notice Me is another song that I love that song.
Yeah, Open Arms
great
with
one.
Travis Scott, and the penultimate track, Good Days, is just another banger.
That was the first single, right? Yeah.
23 songs. Yeah, maybe a little bit too much, but
It's
she's so talented.
It's just a lot to like make, make my list. I needed a couple more listens. It's
Yeah.
my own fault, sis. I'm
Um,
sorry.
I don't get tired of listening to her voice. She is such a talented singer, like
Yeah.
unbelievable. It's incredible.
I feel like every year there's an album where it's like, I know that would have made my list if I would have given it the time that it needed to get on there.
A little too last minute.
And I just didn't have time for it. But I'm glad that it's on your list because it's great from every time I
Yeah.
to it.
From the limited time I had with it, I think that the one thing I realized is that she's really growing as an artist. I felt like Control was much more like angsty, and this is like her kind of like realizing that she can handle her like problems in a different way, in a more mature way, and she kind of conveys those feelings. Like obviously she still has those moments of anger, like when she's talking about smoking on my X-Pack.
Yeah.
Like, she like how she reacts, like she's very reactionary, but I just really like that she took a step forward as an artist and really she really like found a way to like deal with her problems in a mental way. So it's almost like, I mean, I like to think of it that this is going to be like a trilogy almost, where like Control is like her like losing control of herself. SOS is her calling for help and like
Wow.
acknowledging it. And I'm
I
thinking,
like this.
I'm thinking that like there's gonna be something else of like her like settling it. You
Wow.
know?
I hope that we don't have to wait another 5 years to.
Yeah. I mean, Control was like one of my favorite albums like ever, and
That's an amazing album.
yeah. But like this one, I was like, I know it's good, but I just didn't have the time for it.
It's it's really sensitive. It's really emotional, and yeah, it's got that groove, baby. She's super unique. She's super.
He is old. He is.
It's
old.
got
I
that
know.
groove, baby. This is groovy.
SOS by SZA is my number 7.
Next up, Bob Dylan. The new stuff.
Remastered 2022.
That would suck. If any of us ever
We
put a
should bring in a
remaster in our
remaster.
list, I would kill you.
I think the closest thing that
Wait till
I ever
year
did
10 of this
was
podcast.
I did Car Seat Headrest,
Yeah.
but that was a re-recording.
Yeah,
so
that's different. That's
That's a little different.
That's different.
All right, Danny, number 7.
Number 7 is Foals. Life is Yours.
Yeah,
Nice.
you're a Foals guy.
I am.
Is this another
go
one
off.
of those fake bands like My Morning Jacket?
No.
This
No,
is a real
no.
band.
It's the Foals. I love them.
See, I like Carson
The
Wentz
Foals.
better than Foles.
Carson Wentz.
Even though Foles started the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, he did.
I'm more of
Now
a
he
Sam
looks
Ellinger
awful.
kind of guy, personally.
I mean, it's pretty short summary. I mean, you're not expecting much with Foals, like when it comes to like songwriting. In terms of, it's this album is just fun and dancey, which is weird because their previous albums had a lot of like really like heavier stuff, but then right before this album released, their keyboardist just left. Like he was, and so.
And they got happy.
Yeah, it was super, super dancey, super poppy, super, just funky. It's just a fun album. You can't really fault them for releasing something like this. It's right down the middle with their like more popular stuff from like the older days, like 2013 and stuff. It's just reimagined almost. I think with a couple of the songs, they're really trying to get on the radio, and they are.
2 a.m.
Over in Europe, they're massive. They're like they were one of the headliners, I think, for Glastonbury.
Ooh, wow, I love the Foals.
What? So what accent was that one? Because that was different than your British accent.
'cause they're
so what
British.
was-
It's more European, like Central
that's just general Europe.
Central Europe.
Well, the lead singer's Greek.
You're going full globalist out here, and you're just like, yeah, all of Europe will meld into one accent, and it will sound exactly like this.
Y'all.
Yeah, I mean,
Tim
it's
Gunn.
this album is if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. They really push forward. It starts off with like their dancey stuff, and then all of a sudden it gets to like this like weird, more like fill the room kind of sound thing with Giannis kind of just singing over it. That's kind of like how it ends, but it's just consistent. For me, there weren't many skippable songs, or there weren't any for me in this one. But I really enjoyed it. I like it a lot. I like them a lot. They'll probably always be on my list as they make albums.
Yeah.
You like all of the indie bands that like slip through the cracks for me for some reason.
Well, you're gonna see my next one.
Spoilers. This is a great album. I like this album.
I know Lee mentioned them too.
Yeah, she loves the Foals.
Yeah.
We're big fans in the home. Life is Yours by Foals.
Yep.
Number 7. Drew, number 7.
This is going to upset me when I listen to this in the future that this album is this low. It's Pusha T.
You're gonna have to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew we would, and it could be higher for it's like it might be my most listened to album of the whole year, but there were certain things I could not put it.
That's
above.
a joke, right?
No.
Okay.
Here, Drew. List and podcast don't lie. It's a play on neck and wrist.
Yeah.
Don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's list and podcast.
They rhyme with that.
Don't lie. My number 7, we might have to wait on. It's Alpha Zulu by Phoenix.
Yep.
Okay.
You'll have to
Nice.
wait.
Man, I haven't listened to that yet.
Well, you're about to hear about
You're about to hear us. We're going to spoil this album for you.
it.
Okay.
6.
We're back to me. Okay, my number 6. I think you guys might have this, but I like to do this thing sometimes where I like to leave albums off that I know you guys are going to talk about.
Mhm.
But this is an album that like was off my list because of that reason until like the last week or so. Then I listened to it and I was like, brother, Ramona Park Broke My Heart.
You're going to have to wait on that one.
By Vince Staples.
Yeah, you're going to have to wait on
You
that
were
one.
a little hip hop boy this year.
Oh,
at
we're going to
you.
get into it.
Look at you.
We're going to get into the
Wow.
hip hop on my list.
I'm going back to back right now.
All right,
Yeah,
it's
look at
number
you.
6, Danny.
Number
Danny.
6 is Asphalt Meadows by Death Cab for Cuties.
I'm so glad
Go
that
off,
you have this.
King.
This is number 13. Like this was it could have easily been my top 10. This
Yeah.
album fucking rules.
Yeah.
So good.
I mean, being a Death Cab fan, it was my second concert ever. First was Fall Out Boy, of course.
Oh yeah, brother.
But this was just like, I felt like every Death Cab album leading up to this one had like 5 good songs and then 5 bad songs. And this one was just like clear from the beginning to end, just consistently great. I got to be really clear about this. I have to put this on my list. I don't have a choice. I have to face the facts. At this point, I look like a Death Cab fan. I might as well just get a fedora.
You're embracing
Yeah,
your 30s of just being a death.
I have to, like it's just who I am now.
Are you going to start wearing plaid pants?
Next year,
Oh
you're
my
going to see me in
God.
plaid pants. I'm going to
Fuck,
bring the
dude.
fedora. It's going to be full blast.
With a vest?
Let's see. Yeah, this is them doing like old Death Cab in like a more modern way.
It really is. I mean, it's my favorite album that they put out since probably Transatlanticism, to be perfectly honest. I really like the album that
would
came
you
out in
set the record
2013.
straight on how to pronounce that? Is it not Transatlanticism?
I thought it was Transatlanticism.
That's just what I've never. You said that earlier, and I realized I've never heard it said aloud in my life.
I don't know.
I don't hang out with Danny enough.
I've never asked anybody how it's pronounced, but like I'm not
It's one of
gonna.
those things where
I'm
you're
not
just
gonna discriminate.
I just like Transatlantic.
It's pronounced the one with the bird on it.
Yeah, there you go. I really liked their album from 2013, I want to say.
It's definitely transatlanticism.
Yeah, so there we go. So I was right.
Okay, so
You just said both at the same time somehow. That was so fucked up. Transatlanticism.
I honestly, Danny, I don't know what happened this year. Maybe it's something changed inside of me.
welcome.
I got in the death cab hive this year.
Welcome
I
to
like
old
just
age,
really.
buddy.
I
Welcome.
think that this is it. Like
It's
I
nice,
just reached the
dude.
point where I just like.
You were always nearby.
Well, I was listening to Asphalt Meadows, and I just kind of couldn't stop listening to this album whenever it came out. Popped up in release radar, just kept listening to it, and I was like, well, let me go back and listen to the old stuff. Love Transatlantic.
When there's
Atlanticism.
Atlanticism.
And then listen to that. Listen to Plans, of course. You know, I knew like the hits, the I Will Follow You Into the Dark.
What
and shit
about
like that.
Postal Service? You into that? You know that?
Oh, I love Postal Service. That album is fucking incredible.
They're doing a
and-
joint tour.
yeah.
Yeah, where they're doing transatlanticism.
he's doing a joint tour.
Yeah, it's
Him.
it's him.
That's right.
It's
He's in both.
in
man.
honor. I mean, it's to pay the alimony to Zoe Deschanel.
Yeah, Zoe Death Channel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's used to a certain lifestyle, and his billions in indie cred are paying for it. Not her new girl syndication money.
Yeah.
Is this album about how he has realized that he's better than her?
No, it's actually it's kind of like a reintroduction to post-pandemic life, you know? Like it's like him being older and like he's not that like cute little indie boy anymore.
Mhm.
It's kind of like him like I think there's one song where he's kind of like in the pandemic. I Miss Strangers. It's one of my favorite ones. He's like, these days I miss strangers more than I miss my
Yeah.
friends. So
Oh, that song is so good.
yeah, I love
it's-
that song.
You know, it's funny. Of course, Death Cab is much older, much more seasoned than them, but this album does remind me a lot of the Pup album as well, where it's just like artists kind of looking inward and realizing that they weren't the young, spunky kids busting onto the scene that they once were, and trying to figure out like, what does that mean for them? Like trying to reestablish some of that old spark that they had originally that brought them to music in the first place, but also reinvent themselves and make themselves more modern. And I really love this whole album. Here to Forever is just
Here to Forever is just
so good, man.
such a good
just
song.
so beautiful of a song.
Roman Candles was
Roman
like an
Candles.
excellent like
Oof.
first single. You know, I didn't know what to expect, but it's like it's punchy, it's loud, it's like a big like I don't know, like fireworks moment for them. You
Yeah.
know, it was just like really
The
cool.
the production on this is really clean.
It's top
really
notch,
great.
yeah.
Yeah. It's very
But he doesn't do anything fancy. Like he knows what's good. It's like the catchy hooks. There's a little bit of like unique instrumentation in it too, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, he doesn't step too far from the middle. He just delivers exactly what us, you know, old Death Cab fans want to hear.
the olds.
It is funny. This album kind of has, I don't know if you felt this way. This album has the flow of a live concert to it, if that makes any sense, where like you have almost like the big dancey explosive songs of like Roman Candle into Asphalt Meadows, and it's like, all right, everybody, let's take a beat and listen to Rand McNally.
Yeah.
Like it's just like it has an incredible it's an album's album. Like it really does have like a high peaks, and then
Yeah.
we're just gonna bring it back down for a second, then we're gonna rise back up, and
But
then, yeah.
but heavy for Death Cab is still nice.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
even like it's still you can still listen to the whole thing like chilling without your heart rate getting too intense.
There's moments that it gets kind of, you know, like louder, obviously not like metal, but I just saw them at Austin City Limits and I was like blown away. They're coming actually to the Hard Rock pretty soon. I already got my tickets, obviously.
Yeah,
Oh,
you've
Yeah,
had them.
I gotta get my tickets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've had them for a minute.
But yeah, I mean, Fox Glove and Through the Clear Cut, which is another really good one, which like starts off really slow into like this really powerful, like it reminds me of This Is the End by Phoebe Bridgers, like how it kind of like
Yeah.
builds up to something
Ooh,
beautiful.
I like that.
But yeah, great album. Ben, I'm gonna keep listening forever, so keep it coming. You know,
Death
Ben.
Cab for Cutie. Asphalt Meadows is Danny's number 6. Drew, number 6.
Alex G. Speaking
yeah.
speaking of indie legends,
Nice.
God Save the Animals. So he's been very, I guess you could say quietly, he's been like not very heralded, but making just absolute classic albums like one by one by one. The problem is in like 2011 or 2012, whenever he got famous, he absolutely exploded onto the scene as this like premier like indie folk male manipulator music guy. And it's as far as publicity goes, it's been just chasing that high ever since. The thing is, he doesn't make music to chase that high. He's evolved with every single album as an artist. And I think that's really cool. And I think in 2019 is when House of Sugar came out, if I'm not mistaken. And that was pretty high on my list as well. That album might be better than this one. That album to me is like, in retrospect, is like a psychedelic, like folk, like masterpiece album. Super weird. This is a little more digestible if you want to get into newer Alex G. No parentheses Sandy anymore. We don't say that. Don't dead name him.
That was 2019.
What, House of Sugar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just he combines a lot of things that no one else is able to combine and still be like very, very listenable. Like it'll be really lo-fi and then hi-fi and then super auto-tuned, but then really, really naturalistic and grounded in the recording. He'll use the way he uses piano in both of his last couple albums. It reminds me of Fiona Apple's last album, where like it sounds like the mic is like across the room.
Yeah,
like you hear the room in
so
this
cool.
album, and it's the same with his drum kit in this album. Like you hear the space that he's recording in a really cool way. And I wish more bands would do that, especially with piano. It has like a very, very, very usable sound that I feel like not enough people are taking advantage of.
Also, especially how like HD our music is nowadays. You know, we're not listening through like little mono speakers anymore. Like you could really take advantage of shit like that.
I know, and a lot, you know, some of it is a matter of access because like having a piano is a lot harder than having a, you know, I have like a little Akai mini synth for $99. But it sounds fucking incredible. And the fact that he's able to combine that with the hi-fi, with the electronics, and then with like noise rock, and then with like really, really traditional folk with like fucking violins and fiddles and that type of shit, that shouldn't all work together. And it only does because this dude has a really ridiculous feel for his own music. Like he knows exactly how to make it all work. And I think it's the secret ingredient is that his composition is still simple, even though everything going on is really complicated. And verbose, like he still bases every song around a pretty simple progression, and then he alters it, and you know he augments it, and he changes it, and he adds like weird elements that you would never expect. It's I don't know. I think that he's one of the most like unheralded artists. He's kind of memed in like the indie sphere as like, you know, like an example of like an annoying indie solo artist of like 2011 or whatever, but then people call it like male manipulator music, but they all, you know, in the same vein as like people say like Soccer Mommy is that as well, like
who also put out a really good album this year.
Yeah. Didn't make my list, but yeah, that was a good album. That was a great album. This is just, I don't know, I think this dude is doing very, very unique stuff that a lot of people could get into, but I don't think that he's, I don't know. I don't think that he gets like the press or the credit that he should anymore.
Alex G. What's the name of the album?
God Save the Animals.
Hell yeah. That's Drew's number 6. Hunter, number 6.
My number 6 is JID, J-I-D, The Forever Story.
Here we go.
Get into it.
This album fucking rules. It kind of really snuck up on me. It was one of those albums that whenever it came out, like there was a couple people, like some like cool people, like hip hop people are like, this is the true album of the year that nobody's ever going to talk about. And then it kind of blew up and got the recognition that it actually deserved.
Needle Drop made it his number 2.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, okay, so I guess it's being properly recognized.
It was his number 2?
It was his number 2.
This album,
wow.
I mean,
it's rightfully so.
I can't really argue with it. Like it's my number 6, and it's kind of reaching the point where
there's no miss moment.
Exactly. Like that's the thing where it does the thing that's a lot of times a really hard act to do in hip hop albums, which is balancing kind of this heady story, especially whenever you're really like laying on the line and trying to tell like a deeply emotional story with also just writing bangers. And this album just has banger after banger. This is, it's the best use of beat switches in a song since Astroworld, and I think that it's better than Astroworld. Really, at like
significantly better. The beat switches what makes them so impressive is that he raps over those same beats that he switches to with multiple cadences every time, and he gets a different flow, like 3 different flows per beat switch sometimes,
and then he can go back to like the original cadence that he had on the first beat with the second beat. So it's because sometimes, to be honest, I like when beat switches are done well, but I think that with artists like Kendrick, Travis Scott, I mean, really,
they popularized that.
Beat switches have been around since fucking Gangsta Girls mixtape.
But
so like they didn't make them
overusing them.
Yeah,
now.
exactly. And I think that's people who don't know how to use a beat switch, where they're just like, oh, beat switch. Now I'm going to make a second song and I'm going to tie it together with the first song. And that's
just
not the
combine
point of,
2 songs. No, it's not. That's not what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. And I think that JID, do you say JID or JID? I say both because I
say JID because it used to be J.I.D.
It sounds like a slur when you say that. When you say Jid, Hunter.
Yeah. Well, I know like he just goes. Yeah, he calls himself. Yeah, he calls himself like Jid. People call him Jid. JID.
Now you're thinking about
it. Doesn't.
People call themselves.
This
the
is
J
the
word.
sequel.
I say Jide.
This is the sequel to the Never Story, which it was his first album, and then he released DiCaprio 2 shortly after that, which was also a really good album. But this album just really put him ahead of the pack when it comes. For me personally, he's a top 5 rapper right now because of this album.
I to be honest, like if you're just talking just full bars rapping, I don't have much of an argument against you. Like it is, to be honest, I haven't really listened to a ton of his work before. Like I know him more so from features than anything else. Like he's featured on a ton of great stuff.
I'm like J. Cole, he's on Jay's label.
Yeah, I'm like, it's the guy who kind of sounds like Anderson .Paak, but like is a better rapper. And like,
I mean, the production credits were absurd.
Oh, it's dumb. From everything from like James Blake to K Tronada to
Thundercat. JD Beck actually produces and writes on this album too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
This, for people who don't know, it's technically a double album. It's 2 8 tracks. The Forever Story, if you turn 8 on its side, it's the infinity symbol.
Stuff?
That's not even dissect. That's literally look at it.
How does he do it? How does this guy do this?
But like it's about his life. Like so much of this album is very personal. It starts out the first like main track, Radar is kind of
laser beam.
It's like incorporating this whole like there's been a personal foul, number 6 on the defense.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
Because it's him talking about his life. Like originally he's from Atlanta and he was a cornerback and was freshman player of the year in Atlanta.
2007. He talks about that in that song.
He had like all of this promise for actually being like a really successful football star, got caught up in some personal troubles, what have you, and kind of turned to hip hop, just like hanging out, like rapping over like friends' beats and everything, and then became fucking incredible at it and just kind of pivoted his whole life. Turns out good career choice for him. Yeah, much less brain damage this way than the route number 1. And this album it's really about that story. It's about his family. Like this has like actually his dad talking on him, his sisters and his brothers talking on him. The
J.
combo
Cole's talking
Brodenim and Synonym, like the how those close track side 1 and open side 2.
Yeah, Synonym with James Blake on the chorus.
Yeah.
Like it's so good. It's such a fantastic album. My only problem with it, and the one thing, very small, minute long, 21 Savage. I can't stand him, bro. I really can't. Like that's just my problem with him.
His album with Drake was your number 1.
We'll get to that.
Her Loss?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're getting there.
I can fuck with some 21 Savage. Cash in, cash out, cash in, cash
well,
out.
That's like Pharrell and Tyler, which like really carry him. But
they gave Mr. Mans the hook for a reason. He just can't do like a whole song a lot of the time.
Has he taken up the Big Sean space of like, I love him as a feature and don't give me a 21 Savage album?
Exactly. Well, I don't love him as a feature either. I think like the monotone, like, and his lyrics are so tasteless, it feels. Like it's like what's the bar he has? It's like
Never forget in Barty or Cardi where he says, "Tell the waitress I ain't tipping. I like hot sauce on my chicken."
There was a bar he had in this one that was like, "Turn around, she's giving me slurp. I hit it from the back." Like what? Like, dude, stop. Like, you know, I mean, JID just completely bodies him on that song and like really overtakes the feature.
But also, surround sound is like one of the like catchiest songs on the entire album. Though
the video for it is absurd too, and like the feature or the sample he uses it too. I mean, he does. It's a really good video. I definitely recommend it. His use of homophones is really cool. He does a lot of like references to like sports. In 2007, he references sports a lot. I don't know if you saw the Dissect like post about it, but like there's like a line where he goes, "You know, I'm a rant when I talk to Ja," which is like, I'm going to rant when I talk to Jesus, but it's also a reference to Ja Morant.
I'm a rant.
Yeah.
When I talk to Ja. I'm glad to hear all this because JID for me had always been someone that it was really easy to recognize that he was talented, but the music just wasn't coming together. But I haven't listened to this album yet.
I think
It's
there's a
phenomenal.
lot of like, it's very diverse too, I will say. And like the sound that he is pulling in from, it's not just the same beat that's recycled over and over again. I mean, the production, you mentioned it's just kind of incredible on here. Like you can go from something like surround sound or Can't Make You Change, and then also go to something like Cody Blue 31, which is just like swing on. It's just kind of like more of like a full ballad. Like it just rules. Love this album.
I've only listened to a couple of tracks off of this. Dance Now, I think is
Dance Now.
Yeah.
The
the
Earth
main
Gang,
one.
or no, that's the Kenny Mason one. Can't Punk Me is the Earth Gang song.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna give the whole thing a shot.
I think it's
sure.
like, it's not my number one hip hop album this year, but like personally, but I think it's definitely the best one. Like it's just not my favorite one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I think it's objectively the best one this year.
By your scoring rubric,
Well, my scoring rubric, another album scored higher.
okay.
It's just this album is objectively better as a project to like sell to someone else.
It's kind of like a perfect, like, classic hip hop album.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of, it's not reinventing the wheel in a lot of ways, but it's just kind of doing it perfectly.
I thought
like living this lane.
your rubric was supposed to be a purely objective, scientific.
yeah, but then
This is so
but
I love
there's-
how Death Cab for Cutie, you're like, yeah, this is just scientifically a better album. I just gotta put this higher.
it's because there's a little point system I didn't tell like Mark I didn't tell you about, and it's like how much I like it means to me. Like how,
Right.
so that's like
The
another
soul,
part.
It's like the soul.
like how it hit you kind of
Right.
thing. You know, because it's just like you never know when Machine Gun Kelly's gonna hit you.
you never
You
know.
know?
Does
So
he,
it's like
does he
you never
feature
know.
on this,
Did
by the way?
he hit you?
I hope.
I have heard from Megan Fox, personal friend of the pod.
I don't think that we shouldn't make abuse allegations against him because there are plenty of times that he himself said that he wants to fuck underage girls that we could talk about
yeah,
instead.
well, so and we should probably take a break because we're going into the top 5 anyways. But I have seen Machine Gun Kelly live before. Whenever he didn't go by MGK, it was just Machine Gun
Yeah,
Kelly.
he opened for Fall Out Boy, which is a great sign for where they're at in terms of music.
Well, what if I told you the first time that I saw them, Black Bear opened up for them? So, and both times they were really playing up to the teenage girls that
Was
were
that the
coming
first
up
time
to
you
the
saw
stage.
them?
No, I saw them at Big O in 2014.
Yo,
Young the Giant
Big
opening for
O.
them. Weezer?
R.I.P. Big O.
You went
Buddy
for 1
Dyer.
year.
If you're Buddy, come here.
Buddy.
Buddy Dyer, bring back the Big O. I know that you single-handedly took it down.
I don't have
Bring
any
it back.
pull with Orlando's government. I only have Orange County clout. Did Big O maybe stand for Orange County?
Jerry,
Jerry Demings? I know.
Jerry.
I think they were
Jer
in
Bear.
the balance.
I know Jerry. I'll beat some ass.
I was
Jerry.
actually at that show at the Big O, and I remember
we were there together.
Well-
We met you at the Big O.
what?
No, he's fucking.
I was in VIP. I think.
Oh,
Brett
he was
there?
in VIP.
Oh,
Yes.
VIP.
Well, no, it
yo.
was like long story. We just accidentally got into VIP, and yeah, it's weird. But
Well, I mean, we didn't know you back then.
yeah, no,
hardly.
not too much. But I was there, and I remember dancing to Dance Dance, and some dude got mad, and I'm like, How are you gonna get angry at a Fall Out Boy concert?
Oh, get the fuck out of here, guy. I remember Big O got shut down because there was too much underage drinking. I was like, what the fuck, dude? And meanwhile, I had like 5 Jaeger shots because they were just handing them out to children.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was sponsored by Jaeger.
So it does make sense.
Yeah.
By the way, Danny, you been following all the Fall Out Boy stuff? New album's coming out this year.
It's happening.
Dude,
It's-
I haven't liked anything
Yeah,
since.
what?
No,
What
they're
do you
like
mean?
no, they're like actually like
I
going
think
to
the
put
last
out
thing
some
I
old
liked
school-
was Infinity on
Dude,
High.
Lake Effect Kid.
Well, that
rules.
was good too, but that's like an EP, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but I mean that's like I think that they want to go
That's
back
like-
to more of a classic sound. Also,
I hope
Folie
so.
Ado rules. Don't
Yeah.
get it twisted. Folie Ado is I think quite possibly the second best Fall Out Boy album behind Infinity on High.
I don't know
Folie
about
Ado,
that.
it's an album for guys who are in their 30s.
It's an album for music critics, which is exclusively guys who are in their 30s.
And I, as a man who's reaching the end of his life, I can relate to that. Ernie,
Okay.
keep all of this in. Keep it all in.
So we're cutting this. We're cutting this
right
in-
now, we're waiting until right now to cut.
We're
How
cutting
do-
this.
Are we 2 hours in?
Well, I'm gonna. A lot of this is gonna get cut out.
it's 9:36.
So we're cutting this here.
Means we can
This-
say whatever the hell we want.
Not yet. It's not after
Can you
10.
tell us when it's 10 o'clock, Ernest?
This marks the end of part 1 of our best albums of 2022. Tune in for part 2. Thank you all for listening. We have a whole other half of this episode to get into,
Could you believe it?
but we're cutting it in half.
Who would
for
have
you.
thought that we couldn't fit this all in one
What
episode?
am I going to drink next?
Oh, we're fucked.
See you in part 2.
This world's so fucking fucked.
That was really good.
He like muffles his mouth as he does it. You know? This world's so fucking fucked.